We have some new reporting regarding Signalgate. Pete Hegseth's use of the chat Signal to send information, sensitive information regarding the U.S. military bombing campaign in Yemen to two different groups. Well, according to the Washington Post, the Pentagon's internal watchdog group, the Inspector General's office, has received information that the email that Pete Hegseth received with that information was marked as secret nor 4, which is a classified marking. This now is in direct contradiction of what the White House has been saying for months. They've been saying that Pete Hegseth did not disclose classified information over this Signal chat. My name is Dina Dahl with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. As you know, back a few months ago, Pete Hegseth disclosed this information. He had on one Signal chat people like J.D. Vance, but they inadvertently included an Atlantic reporter who ended up disclosing what happened. He also, Pete Hegseth, had a second Signal chat with that same information. That second Signal chat included his wife, his brother, and a personal attorney. So what happened was the Inspector General is looking into this, and 4 different people have told the Washington Post that the internal watchdog group has received this information, that the email, the original email that came from Central Command, had that marking. Take a listen to what Pete Hegseth said not that long ago in this committee hearing back just in June when he was asked that specific question of what marking the email had that he received with this information that he then relayed on the Signal chat. Take a listen.
Secretary Hegseth, I'd like to clarify a few important details for the record. When you texted the launch time for F-18s going into combat over enemy territory facing anti-aircraft missiles on an unclassified Signal chat, did that launch time come from Central Command, yes or no?
I know what you're referring to, and there were no
it's a very simple
targets
question.
or
Did it come from?
locations
It's a
or-
very simple question. Did it come from Central Command?
Well, in this committee, no way in which I communicate or what I communicate on a successful strike is something that I would share.
So you can't even identify the combatant command under which this operation occurred?
Well, everybody knows the
Okay, so everyone knows
this
it's Central Command. So when Central Command sent you this information, did they send it on a classified system or an unclassified system?
Well, as you know, having served yourself, any way that the Secretary of Defense communicates or provides information in and of itself is classified and not to be discussed.
So what was the classification marking of the launch time when it was sent to you? Because DoD regulations require information on classified systems to be marked.
What was the classification mark time?
Yeah, what was the classification marking? Because
Again,
DoD
classifications of any information in an ongoing operation that was successful are not things that would be disclosed in a public forum.
You can very well disclose whether or not it was classified. It's not classified to disclose whether or not it was classified. And in fact, DoD regulations state that any classified information has to be labeled with its classification. Was it classified secret or top secret?
What's not classified is that it was an incredibly successful mission against the Houthis.
Okay, so it was classified. So are you trying to say that the information was unclassified?
I'm not
Okay,
trying to say
that's what
anything.
I thought. You're not saying that. So you took classified information from Central Command that had a classification marking on it, because that's what's required by DoD regulations, and you put it on an unclassified system. So we're going to get a report in a few days from the DoD Inspector General. And if the DoD Inspector General finds what is pretty obvious, both to you smiling there in the witness seat and to all of us up here, that the information was, in fact, classified, do you plan to take any accountability for that?
As I pointed out at the time,
you said that accountability is back. Does that not apply to you?
as I said at the time, Congressman, there were no names, targets, locations, units, routes, sources, methods, no classified information.
Pete Hegseth says it's all about accountability. Will he hold himself accountable? Because what he did was obviously so dangerous to troops and a violation of Pentagon policy. Let's take a look just exactly at what he did. So he received an email by Army General Michael Eric Kurilla, commander of the U.S. Central Command. This email included specific times that the F-18, MQ-9 Reaper drones, and Tomahawk cruise missiles were going to be used in that March 15th attack. That email, according to this new reporting, was labeled secret. When you label it secret, it means that the information is so classified that if there is an unauthorized disclosure of the information, it could be expected to cause serious damage to national security. And it was also labeled Norfron, which means that it was not meant for anyone who is a foreign national, including senior officials of close allies of the United States. So this information was so classified that it would cause serious damage to national security if it were released. But despite that, this information then went out on a Signal chat. Signal, as you know, is not secure in any way, shape, or form, not an authorized method of communication for classified information. And on that group chat, not only was it Pete Hegseth, but it was J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, putting out such information that could have put people at risk, people in the armed forces at risk, our national security at risk. This is why the internal watchdog group at the Pentagon is investigating it, because of what if a serious breach this was. Hegseth acted during his testimony as if it was unknown whether or not the information was classified or not. Mike Waltz, who was national security at the time, in his hearing just a few days ago over his nomination to become the U.S. ambassador to the UN, clearly says that the information was not classified. Take a listen.
Folks who have access to...
Again, we followed the recommendation, almost the demand, to use end-to-end encryption, but there was no classified information shared.
Did you speak to Secretary Hegseth about his decision to share detailed information on the specifics of an imminent military strike?
What we spoke about, Senator, was a highly successful mission that did something that the Biden administration did not do, was actually target the Houthi leadership. We subsequently saw a ceasefire, an increase in shipping, and a drop in attacks on our ships.
Well, look, here's what I hear on this exchange, and I want to get to the UN point. At the time, you took responsibility for having added a journalist inadvertently to a Signal chat. But it doesn't seem to me that the administration's taken any action to make sure this doesn't happen again. There's been no consequences, and yet the president continues to denounce those who leak information. We both know Signal is not a secure way to convey classified information. And I was hoping to hear from you that you had some sense of regret over sharing what was very sensitive, timely information about a military strike on a commercially available app that's not, as we both know, the appropriate way to share such critical information.
Again, Senator, I think where we have a fundamental disagreement is there was no classified information on that chat.
I don't know about you, but I'm always looking for a new product for my skin, something that works and feels great. I received this Tighten and Lift neck cream from GoPure, and I love the way it feels. It's soft, but it also just melts into my skin. And we spend so much time caring for the skin on our face, but what about our neck? Unless you're wearing turtlenecks all day, your neck is out there for the world to see. Mine certainly is every time I put on the video. And it's one of the first places to show signs of aging, which is why I make sure to help protect my neck with great skincare products like GoPure. And that's why GoPure Beauty developed their revolutionary Tighten and Lift neck cream, powered by clinically proven active ingredients. This advanced formula is designed to visibly firm, smooth, and rejuvenate the delicate skin on our neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. Because here's the thing, the skin on your neck is thinner, more delicate, and less oily than facial skin, meaning it requires specialized care. all Go Pure products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, and sulfate-free, so you know you're giving your skin clean, effective care without the harsh chemicals or compromises. With over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret is no longer a secret. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off Go Pure with code MISTRIAL at checkout. Just head to gopurebeauty.com, use code MISTRIAL, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about Go Pure, tell them it was from our show. But it sounds like Hegseth and Mike Waltz shouldn't have been so confused as to whether or not the information was classified, because according to the 4 people who spoke to the Washington Post, the information came over a classified system. Not only was it labeled secret, but the system itself was secret. Specifically, the information was sent over the classified system, the Secret Internet Protocol Router Network, or SIPR net. So it wasn't just a matter of whether or not they happened to read the classification, which seems to be 101 when you're in a position for dealing with markings of classification, to read the marking, to know what to do with that information. But when it's sent over a system meant for that kind of classified information, surely you could be able to know if that information was classified and not either lie about it in a hearing or try to deny that you know about it in a hearing. So the Washington Post is on this story. The Pentagon Internal Watchdog is on this story. Same with NBC, Wall Street Journal, a lot of news breaking around this story. Well, the Washington Post reached out to the White House for a comment on this new reporting. And instead of doing anything related to the content of the reporting, the White House decided to instead attack the fact that the Washington Post was even looking into the story, saying, quote, "It's shameful that the Washington Post continues to publish unverified articles based on alleged emails they haven't personally reviewed in an effort to undermine a successful military operation and resurrect a non-issue that no one has cared about for months." And this is despite the fact that the Washington Post told the White House how they have 4 different people corroborating the information that they receive. So in typical Trump fashion, instead of trying to talk about the facts or the issues because they know their facts and issues are against their side, they instead attack the job that the Washington Post is trying to do, which is to make sure that the Pentagon and the people in charge of the Pentagon are handling military information in a way to keep us safe, as they are supposed to according to their own policies and regulations.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.